Recently doing a walking coaching session with a great guy, I'm looking at you, William, I was asked how the hell do I remember all the books that I read, and I'm able to actually quote some of those books and some of the sentences in those books in discussions. On one side it's about reading more, and if you want to learn more about this, just check out this video about reading one book per day that I've done here and here. On the other side it is about reading better, and in this video I will focus on how to read better, meaning reading more, remembering more, and applying more. My name is Greg Angelbert. I'm a life and personal finance coach, and my life purpose is to help and inspire people to live with personal agency. I share what I know about personal finance and coaching on a cup of coffee to help you live a life of purpose and build your wealth. Reading better? But why? First, relax. If you're someone forgetting immediately what you've just read, join the club. Neuroscientists have postulated that forgetting is actually a default state of our brain. It's a normal thing to do. So remembering is actually something where we need to put some special effort. We need to be in the right environment, the right moment, and put some effort to learn. And that's a key point here. We should remember what we want to remember, not all the information which is passing in front of us. There's just way too much of it. And if you're not able to remember anything that you're reading, you might as well not read at all. The first step is to distinguish between what I would call entertainment reading, which is basically if you want to, it's like watching a Netflix TV series or a movie. You just want to relax, you want to be in the moment without thinking too much. The second type of reading is learning reading. It means that you want to get something out of it. For me, when I read sci-fi books, that's entertainment. That's when I can actually spend hours, it flows very, very easily. I actually have to stop myself. When I was a student, I could read about 10 sci-fi books per month. You can imagine that not much studying was happening. With my process of reading one book a day, it's different. The books that I'm reading are books that I want to learn something from. I want to take something away from it. And there are different things. It can be about general knowledge, it can be about practical skills, new perspectives, life hacks, etc. The vast majority of books that I've read in my life, I took no notes, which means that probably I don't remember 90% of it. I wouldn't waste 90% of my food, so I don't want to be wasting 90% of what I read. The bottom line is your time is limited, my time is limited. If you engage in an activity, it makes sense that you try to get as much as possible what you want to get out of this activity. So we are in a learning territory here. You want to read better because you want to be getting the most that you can out of the new information that you're exposed to. And there are 4 essential steps that you can take to absorb as much as possible from what you read in a book. The first step is about information inspiration, which is how we relate to the new information. The second step is about information absorption, which is how we make this new information our own. The third step is about information sharing, which is how we spread this new information. And the fourth step is information implementation, which is how this information changes our life. Step 1, information inspiration. If you're a student, you're studying for an exam, you might be feeling forced to actually be reading what you're reading. And if that's the case, you're going to really struggle to remember anything that you read. Here we need to use our imagination, to leverage our imagination. How can we relate what we're about to read to something important in our life, something that matters to us? And that can be something very big in our life, or it can be something very, very practical, very small. On the big side for me, I read books because I feel that it's keeping my brain healthy. It's helping me to learn new things, make new connections in my brain, help with the neuroplasticity of my brain, so that means being more flexible and being able to learn new things easier. And that's a potent motivator for me to read about anything. On a practical side, I might be reading a book about plant-based food because I might be interested in actually reducing the intake of meat that I have in my life. A good way to read what matters to you in your life is to actually know what matters to you in your life. Know your purpose of your life, know your life goals, and then read about things which are related to that. If you want to know more about finding your life purpose and goals, please check this video here and here. You'll learn about how to do that. You're liking this video so far, so you know what to do, and don't forget to subscribe and also put the notifications on if you want to receive more content like this every week. Also check out the other videos from other YouTubers here. It's always good to have multiple voices and multiple sources of information about this specific topic. Step 2, information absorption. There are some simple techniques that allow you to remember much better what you read. The first one is to highlight part of the book that you're reading and that you find interesting. You can do that with a highlighter, you can do that with underline with a pen if you have a paper book version. Personally, I use my iPad and Kindle to actually highlight directly, digitally, everything that I want to keep for the future. I'm a bit of an efficiency freak and I don't like to write first and then have to write it back and type it somewhere else. Highlighting is great, but it won't get you that far because you might highlight and then close a book, forget about it, and do nothing with what you have highlighted. The second step is to collect those highlights. So you can do that at the end of a chapter to reread the highlights and make sure that you've collected them, or you can do it at the end of the book. You can also do this automatically if you're doing a digital version. There are apps like Readwise that allow you to be able to take all those highlights and receive them by emails every week to actually know all the highlights from the books that you have. This is good, but it's still not quite enough. Now you need to use your own language. You need to turn all those highlights into notes, personal notes, where you put your impressions, where you put something that is linked to your reflections and with your own language. In a way, this is your personal summary of the book, something that it has created for you as a personal input. And a recommendation is when you do this summary, it's important that you pick maybe just one idea that is a truly novel idea that you're taking out of the book. And sometimes there might not be any. There's a lot of self-help books for me that tend to be in 80% the same as another book, and I don't find really anything novel. Okay, so now you have a summary. What's important now is that you're able to take that summary and retrieve some key ideas that are in this summary in the future. A good way to do this is to create tags. You can do that whether digitally or you can do it with cards where you write a specific idea, a specific topic that you want to make sure that you will be able to come back to it. For example, you might be reading or watching a video about reading better, and then you might say, okay, this is about self-improvement on reading, and you create a tag about this. When I read a book a day, what I do is I read summaries of books that I actually further summarize for myself. And I use Evernote for that, which is a tool that allows me to keep all the summaries that I've created in one place. The final step that I do not do much at this point is to create what is called evergreen notes. Those notes are effectively summaries around one key idea, which is coming from everything that you've learned from different books, different videos, everything around that idea that summarizes what you think about that idea. I only do this when I want to create a new piece of work, whether it's a coaching model, a coaching tool, whether I want to write an article about a specific topic, then that's how I can apply all this knowledge, all those tags, all those notes on books that I have. My method is in a way very similar to what you can find in the book called How to Take Smart Notes from Sonke Horens. Step 3, information sharing. A great way to learn more deeply is to share what you learned from a book. Whether you do it with friends, with colleagues, as part of a dinner, having some drinks, around a coffee break, just share whatever you've learned in a book with the people around you. Expressing your learning with your own words and sharing it will reinforce it in your brain. The second step you can take is deeper. You can create some teaching material based on what you've learned so you can share that with others, teach others. Whatever work you do, whatever activity you do, there is always an opportunity to teach others. We can all be teachers, whether it's with our friends, family, colleagues, with our kids. That's an important step that we can take in life. And for that you can use the Feynman technique. It's coming from Richard Feynman, a Nobel Prize winner in physics. And this technique, you choose a concept you want to learn about and go read about it. You explain it to a 12-year-old and see what the reaction is, whether you manage to explain it simply and be understood. You reflect, refine and simplify until that 12-year-old truly understands the concept in a simple way. And finally, you organize and review, so you store the information and can retrieve it later. There's more about this in the link in the description below. And for me, based on the summaries that I do in Evernote, for further accountability and to share, I actually share all the summaries that I write. I put them on LinkedIn for everybody to see. And I bore my friends around dinner, drinks, about everything that I read. Step 4, information implementation. The very best way to make new information your own is to implement it in your life. And Jim Quick, in one of his videos that you can see him here and here, is a master of remembering. He's asking the following question: how can I use this information? That is when you relate to the goals in your life and where you can see this information having the most impact. Why must I use this information? This is a link to your life purpose, your values, what truly matters to you, the compelling inner drive that makes you want to use the information. When will I use this information? Not all information learned needs to be applied right away. This is when you plan for when this makes sense to be used. Almost all my routines, my life goals, everything that I do in my life that I want to realize has been powered by books that I've read. For instance, all my health routine, whether it's exercise, what I eat, is based on everything that I've read, watched, articles, books, videos about nutrition and fitness. And sometimes it's even confusing. Some elements have been contradicting each other. It is the same for how I invest, how I'm actually learning Thai language, and many other topics. A key point here is that it's important to experiment with what you read. Every book will tell you that they have the truth, that the facts that they are quoting and the theories that they have are the best ones. But the only one valid truth is the ones that you create for yourself and that you can apply and work out for yourself. Now it's time to get started. There's one key benefit of reading better, is that you might actually read less. Counterintuitive, yeah? If you're reading 30 books a year and you were forgetting about 90% of it, now you can just try to read 5 and really take out what's really important for you to apply in your life out of those 5 books. This will have a much more profound impact in your life. And you can reread some of the books that you know are great, that you've read before, but you haven't done all the techniques that we've talked about in this video. Just come back to them. By the way, everything that I've mentioned in this video about reading is also applicable to this video and watching YouTube videos or any other means that you have for learning. So you know what to do. How about you apply those tips in this video right away? Ask yourself those questions and take those steps. What are my 3 to 5 key takeaways from this video? What would I put in a short summary about this video? What is one action that I'm ready to commit to based on what I've learned today? I hope this video has inspired you to read better and get the most out of your read every day. Reading is a fantastic pastime for me, and I'm sure for you, and it is a path to lifelong learning. I look forward to seeing you next week on A Cup of Coffee for more personal finance and coaching.